Of all the great breakfasts that are traditional here in the American South, this may be my favorite. Flaky biscuits, country ham, and the exotic, the mysterious, red-eye gravy. Keep in mind, I just live down here. I'm not from here. This is merely my outsider's interpretation of the classic. First thing to do is throw a stick of butter in the freezer, ideally the night before. When it's good and cold, I'll preheat the oven to 475 Fahrenheit. Convection is nice. This is the official flour of Southern-style biscuits, White Lilly self-rising flour. If you can't get this, you can approximate it by blending some more common ingredients. That formula is in the description. About 2.5 cups go in a mixing bowl. It doesn't have to be exact at this stage. There's salt in the flour and salt in the butter, so no more salt at this stage. I do like a teaspoon or two of sugar, not traditional, but it enhances browning. Set that aside and get a cutting board. For years, I made biscuits with a mixture of butter and shortening. I'm trying to get away from shortening, so I'm using all butter, and I'm using a method popularized by Southern Living magazine, where you grate the cold butter with the big holes on a box grater. This really helps form flakes in the dough. The faster you do this, the better the finished product will be. As I dump the butter into the flour, you'll see how much the shooting of this video slowed me down. My butter started to melt, and this batch, therefore, was not my best. Toss the butter around in the flour and stick the whole thing in the freezer to get it cold again. 15 minutes later, I'll put in a cup of cold buttermilk, real buttermilk. That lactic acid flavor really shines through in these. You just stir it around until it vaguely comes together into one sticky hot mess. Flour your board, dump it out, flour on top, and just mold it gently into a big rectangle. More flour on top, then roll it out maybe an inch thick and fold it over on itself. Roll it out an inch thick again, flour, and fold. This is how you get that laminated, flaky texture. It's like a very crude puff pastry. I do 4 folds. Then when I've got it rolled out to an inch the final time, it's time to punch them out. I just use a metal half-cut measure. Any kind of cutter with reasonably sharp edges will work. If you use something with dull edges like a glass, you'll mash the layers of the biscuit together and they won't puff up as well. Try really hard to minimize trimmings. Yes, you can gather them up, roll them out again, and punch out some more, but the biscuits from the trimmings aren't nearly as good. Throw some parchment on a baking sheet and brush melted butter on each biscuit. I love those silicone brushes, very easy to clean. In the oven they go. They'll take about 15 minutes in there. While you wait, the next step is to brew yourself a cup of coffee. Not only because, this is breakfast, but also because red-eye gravy is made with coffee. My coffee was supplied by the sponsor of this video, Trade Coffee. Truth be told, I'm not a huge coffee drinker. Maybe it's just that I find the whole scene kind of intimidating. It's hard to know where to get started with coffee. But when I went to drinktrade.com, I just took their quiz. I confessed that I'm a noob. They asked me what kind of flavors I liked. They asked me if I like to grind it myself. Yes, I opt for pre-ground. I've been using my grinder for grinding spices, and I don't really want curry-flavored coffee, although come to think of it, that could be kind of awesome. But anyway, you tell them how you make your coffee. I do a French press because it's great at emulsifying the oils into the brew, and it's a small, simple thing with one moving part that doesn't need electricity or disposable filters. Love it. And this coffee that they matched me with is delicious. It's got this kind of roasted, fruity cocoa thing going on. And Trade is giving the first 100 of you who use my referral link in the description 30% off your first match. Just use the promo code ADAM. You never pay shipping, and Trade only works with ethically sourced coffee. You want to give this a shot? Follow my link in the description and use the promo code ADAM. 30% off your first coffee from Trade. Okay, biscuits are just golden on top, and they've puffed up a bit. They would have puffed up more if I hadn't let my butter melt, but that one's pretty nice. You can see the layers. Yeah, good. Time for the ham. I was in East Tennessee last weekend, the wellspring of the finest country hams you can buy. Think of it as American prosciutto, and just as fine, in my opinion. Some people boil it to keep it soft. Some people just kind of flash sear it. I like it crispy, so I put it into a cold, dry pan and then turn the heat on medium. This is a great way of doing bacon, duck breast, anything with lots of fat. Fat melts at a much lower temperature than when meat browns, so as the pan heats up, it renders enough of the fat out that the meat can then brown in its own fat by the time the pan gets really hot. Like bacon, this will stiffen up as it cools, so you want to pull it before it seems crispy enough. And there we are, beautiful country ham fond, the beginnings of red-eye gravy. Before it burns, grab your coffee cup and just pour some in. Exciting, huh? Scrape the pan clean with a wooden spoon, turn off the heat, let the coffee reduce for a second, and traditionally, that is it. Bitter as motor oil. Personally, I'm glad that we're not living in the olden times anymore, so I go with a big squeeze of honey. Some people use brown sugar. I've even heard of people using sweet barbecue sauce. Again, heat is off. You don't want your sugar to burn. When the bubbling is about done, you're safe to stir in some butter. Again, not traditional, but hardly uncommon. It helps emulsify the rendered ham fat into the sauce, and it thickens everything up. And also, butter's good. And there it is. Really deep, complex stuff. I don't use the word exotic often, but it feels right to me here. Exotic. Split a biscuit along its laminated fault line, put some ham on the plate, and drizzle on the red-eye gravy. Very strong stuff. You don't need much. And an extra biscuit can't hurt. Now you could stack this up and make a little sandwich. This is literally called biscuit cut ham for this purpose. I tend to treat it more like an open-faced sandwich. Can't forget my trade coffee. Get 30% off yours by following my link in the description and using the code ADAM. Now you go and have yourself a good morning.